Good morning, everybody. This is Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. I'm in my little wooded sewing room, and I have to tell you, I came out and there were a flock of massively huge wild turkeys walking across our yard into the woods here. Huge. I must say we have quite a lot of wildlife critters coming around here. We don't live in the country. In fact, there's a main road out there a little bit, but we do get our fair share of. We get deer, and there's raccoons and opossums and woodchucks and tons of squirrels. Of course, our birds. We get lots of things, but I've never ever seen the wild turkeys. By the time I grabbed my camera, most of them they weren't frightened. They just sort of sauntered into the woods. There was 2 big ones and then about 5 little ones. Amazing, amazing. We do have the deer that come around, and they're not tame, but I can get within a couple feet of them. They come almost every evening. It's really sweet. But yeah, the wild turkeys, isn't that amazing? I wonder what else we're gonna see. I hope we don't see any bears or anything that come out. We have foxes here. There's a fox that lives back here, and then I think there's two little cats actually. I've tried to not catch them, and I'm not putting food out for them, but I think they live over there in sort of a hollow over there of a tree. A black one and a gray one. I've seen them occasionally skitter around in the woods here. So there you go, my own little zoo. Anyway. On my medallion quilt, my sampler quilt. It's slow going, but it's okay. It's sort of a block every now and again, and every week or so that I put up. Again, if you're new to my channel, I'm doing a sampler quilt. Which is a beginner's quilt. This is my 3rd block party, 2018, 19, and 2021 now. 2020 was a bust. But I've changed it up, and if you're following, you know that. I've used 3 different size blocks, a 24-inch, a 12-inch, and a 6-inch. The majority of them are 6-inch blocks that I'm making. I must say, we are up to the place for my quilt that I'm going to be putting my sampler blocks that I'm finishing up here around the outside of my quilt. My quilt's going to end up fairly decently large. And these blocks are going around the next step from my flying geese border. The block that I'm going to show you is it's like a little tulip flower block. It uses 4 different fabrics, high contrast, and I did use like a pink and a green and a white, so it looks like a flower. I think that's important. It doesn't matter what color your flower is, but I think, and these aren't solids at all. They're not solids, they're polka dots and prints, but they're very, very, very tone-on-tone prints. So my flower pops. It's not quite a beginner's block, although it's a 9-patch. It is a simple 9-patch at the end of the day when we put it together. I would think, before I show you the block, the most important thing is your cutting. There's not quite a few, but there's a few pieces in each unit that you have to cut properly. We are doing half square triangles the absolute traditional way. We've made half square triangles en masse. We've made half square triangles, cutting them apart. We are cutting triangles on the diagonal, so you have to be very careful of your biased edge. But at this point, I think what I've shown you is you can just set down some good sewing skills and methods that you know not to stretch that bias edge for the 4 half square triangles we do. And with no further ado, this is my little block here. This is block, for lack of better, block 17. Again, we're doing more than 17 blocks, but this is my little tulip block. Again, you can see the high contrast, you can see my flower. You can't really tell, but my little bud here, right there, is a different fabric. You can't really tell, but that's okay. That's how I wanted it to be. My leaf here, I didn't quite get it right there. I went back and tried to fix it. Didn't work, but it's perfect. It did measure just a hair too big, which was awesome because then I could cut down my block to my 6.5 inches unfinished. And when it's in my quilt, 6 inch. So it's a sweet little flower block. But as you can see, it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A simple 9 patch with just a few little extras here. So is it a beginner's block? Maybe an advanced beginner, because we are working with 1.5 inch units here. 1.5 inch, very small. So I do hope you enjoy this. I've really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very pretty little block there. I might make 2 of them. Nah, I don't think I will. No, I don't think I will. I think I just have one of them somewhere, maybe up near the corner or something. My little flower block. So that's my block this week. I'm trying to see if I can see any more turkeys. That was amazing. That really was amazing. It's really quite serene here in the morning. I like to come out in the morning and hear all the bird song. It really is very, very nice. I have on my heavy duty welly boots, don't worry. And Ian and the boys are working on our deck. They finished the bottom of the deck, renewed it. We have to refinish the railings, which actually Jordan came along the other day, said the railings aren't too bad. It's the top rail. And maybe we can just finish that up. But yeah, the boys have been working hard on that, and I'm going to be putting a video up. They're cutting down, there's 2 trees that are growing up through our deck, which are fine. The one though, the previous homeowner had cut them down because they were like 100 foot high. I don't know. Cut them down, but one has come back to life. I'm going to do another video on that. The other one is dead as anything. So they're cutting that one down actually. The boys came, Ian just came back with his chainsaw. He had to get his chainsaws sharpened. So anyway, that's all happening. That'll be another video. I do hope you enjoy the day. I hope you're all taking care. Hope you're all keeping safe. And again, I hope you enjoy this little tutorial for our sampler quilt, my tulip block. All right, folks. Again, love from the Trueloves. Bye-bye. So we have these 2 trees growing through our new deck here that the boys have built. This tree was cut off, as you can see up there, and the other one. And supposedly they were completely sort of dead, but making a feature in the deck. And look what happened to this one. This one's come back to life. However, that one over there is not. So the boys are erecting scaffolding here. This is our baker's scaffolding here. This is our scaffolding. And we're going to be cutting that second tree down to table height. We're going to make a table out of it. So you can't see. I'll go around. Elliot's up there putting the scaffolding up. So hi Elliot.
Hello.
So what's the plan?
So we're constructing a very elaborate pyramid-like structure in order to be able to chop this down incrementally so it's safe. So the plan is to kind of maybe do this in 3 sections, and they're right the way down, almost level with the planks here. And then drop down the planks to the next level and kind of work our way down, being it very safely, and getting this tree down in nice rounds to be able to split with the logs. Split with the log splitter. And
table height, right?
Yeah, we're going to eventually get this all the way down to be about almost like the way I am right now. Be able to sit at it, kind of table height kind of thing.
as I will have said in the beginning, this is not really a beginner's block, and I'm priding myself on this as a beginner's quilt, my sampler block, but at this stage of the game, nearing the end, I figure whoever is following along with these blocks will be proficient enough to work with just the amount of small little pieces that we are working with. All of this is going into a small 6.5 inch unfinished 6-inch finished block. Well, it's not hard because at the end of the day it's basically a 9 patch, but with many units in the 9 patch. And here are our cutting instructions. We have 4 fabrics. That doesn't look quite different, but it is. This is just slightly different. Sort of like a tulip pattern with the background, the flower and the leaf fabric. So my fabric A, which I will take a picture of this, my fabric A is the background fabric, and what we're going to be needing is you're going to be cutting 3 2.5 inch squares. Okay, there's my 3 2.5 inch squares, 2 2 7/8 inch squares, 1 1.5 inch square, and we've not done this before. We're cutting a rectangle, which is 2.5 inches by 1.5 inches. Okay, my flower fabric, we're cutting 1 2.5 inch square. We're cutting 1 2 7/8 inch square. The little bud peeking out of my flower is just 1 1.5 inch square. And then our leaf, we're cutting 1 2 7/8 inch square. So that's it, but that's enough, right? So I'll take a picture of this. Now we're going to just go on to some sub-cutting. We're going to be sub-cutting our 2 7/8 inch squares. Okay, now you have to be very careful. These are 2.5 inch and that's 2.5 inch. Okay, so we have here our 2 7/8 inch squares. So right now I'm going to be taking my background 2 7/8 inch square, and I'm just going to be cutting that one time on the diagonal. Okay, and that's from point to point, allowing for the width of my blade. I'm going to come 2 triangles there, and again corner to corner on the diagonal, 2 triangles. I'll take my flower fabric. Now this is the 2 7/8 inch square, and my leaf fabric. So there we have our pieces. Now I'm going to go over to my design board and put this together. So I have my design board here, and I'm going to be putting, it's facing me this way, I'm going to be putting our little 9 patch together, obviously with many units. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our rectangle, our background rectangle, and our little 1 inch square of our background, and then our little bud fabric here. Okay, and then we're going to be taking one of the triangles from our flower fabric with another triangle like that. Obviously I don't have seam allowances here. And then we're going to be taking our little square, and again, as I said, this is basically a 9 patch but with many units. Our next triangle, so we're making these half square triangle units the traditional way. They do have a bias edge, so we have to be careful. Taking our center flower piece right there, as we can see our flower coming to life. We're going to take our green leaf fabric over here with yet another background square, background triangle, and then we're taking the rest, which is our bottom row, like so, and then our leaf and our final triangle. Now let me see. You can see how that has become with our when I put our seam allowances on, our lovely little flower. our lovely little tulip there. So again, basically this is a 9 patch, but right now I'm going to go over and I'm going to construct all of the different units, okay? So we, as you can see here, we have, just putting it right in front of me, we have a simple 9 patch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but I have to configure now these units. So I'm at my machine. I've made sure it's all working nice. My stitch quality is nice. And I have my pattern in front of me here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my top row of this little first unit of my little 9 patch here. Okay, I have my 1.5 inch squares. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pretty side over to my pretty side for this small little 1.5 inch square. And again, it might be tempting to do less than 1/4 inch on these little squares as these little units, but keep your 1/4 inch. Okay, you might want to just go slowly with our little unit here. I've shortened my stitch length again because I'm working with small little units and I don't want to pull anything out. Now I'm just going to finger press that gently over to the dark, and then I'm going to put my rectangle right on top of that. And as you can see, it measures 2.5 inches perfectly. And again, my 1/4 inch seam. So it may not be a beginner's block, but it's not hard, as you can see. Quilting, you just break things down. That's all you do. You break things down. I'm going to put that back on my board, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to construct these half square triangle units. Now again, this is like the traditional way. There's lots of methods you can do half square triangles all at once, not on the bias. This is the traditional method. This is a traditional block, and you want to be careful if you ever come across instructions like this that you don't you're able to do it. You're knowing that that's on the bias, so you're very, very, very careful of putting your right sides, your pretty sides together here, and being very careful, scratch them together, of not stretching that edge there. You just do it ever so gently, and then you know when we sort of secure it when we iron it, and again, you pinch and pull so you're not pulling anything out of shape. And we will press that ever so carefully, just finger press that up to over to the dark, right there. And I'm going to put that back on. I'm just going to finish my next 3 half square triangles here. Okay, now that we have our units all made, I'm going to be making my simple 9 patch. I'm going to be pulling my top row, which are these 3 units right here. I'm going to be putting my pretty sides over to my pretty sides. Again, configuring it properly. Oops, no. This goes this way. I completely forgot. That goes like that. My tulip goes up that way, like that. Make sure you have it correct. And as you see, I'm not taking off that dog ear, but I will trim that in a minute. You want to make your 1/4 inch where it's proper. Be careful of your placement. And then my pretty side of my next piece. then I'm going to aim right for that intersection of my dog ear, like that. And then I can trim that off then. There's my top row. Making sure my configuration is correct. My centerpiece over here. And if you've cut them really well, which I will reiterate in the beginning, it's very, very, very important that you cut these precisely. As in all quilting patterns, that is important. And then this one, making sure again that my leaf goes that way, like that. Yeah, like that. Centered leaf. Now I am going to go to my ironing board and I'm going to press these. I'm going to set my seams before I do these two seams here. So I'm going to take my pieces right off of the design board and I'm going to set these seams like that. And because my seams, all of the are going that way, I'm going to be pressing this as the fabric wants to go, which to this case I'm pressing the bottom row with the seams going out. Okay, just like that. I'm going to set these seams here. Set that one that I did, and that one. And these seams, whoops, these seams are wanting to go, oops, I keep screwing that up. Let me just spritz that. My iron, the little foot on my iron just sort of wrinkled it. There we go. So a little bit of water, flatten that right out. Now these seams are going to the inside, like so. And I'll press them on the outside so that there's no little tucks. And then my top seam, my top unit here. It's not that hard. It's not that hard because it's just, again, a simple 9 patch, but just with several units in it. So no, it's not that hard. And there's my lovely little tulip. But now I'm just going to go back over and I'm going to nest these seams here, 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 and here. I'm going to pick up my top row and my second row, and because we've ironed the seams, these are going out, these are going in, I can just make sure that this here and this here seam, they nest, they go exactly the opposite way. And this one here also is pressed. Just go slowly on the block this size. And I will trim off that little dog ear there. And hopefully, when I flip it up, now it looks like that seam sort of wants to go that way, but right now I'm going to grab my other bottom row, and I'm going to configure it, and we're going to nest these two seams right here. So I've pretty much done this in real time. I think, and I will say in the very beginning, I think the most important part of this block is the cutting. Just be accurate with your cutting. And of course, as always, your 1/4 inch seam. And hopefully, after I press this, I will have a ta-da moment. Now it's a little, I can just make that slightly, as you can see, and that's a bit glaring. I'm going to just go in slightly more on that point there. Make it just a little bit wider. I think I just veered off from my 1/4 inch just slightly. Just correct that, hopefully. And come back into my seam allowance. See if that corrected it a bit. Yeah, that corrected it a little bit. Not perfect. Not perfect. It's a little bit skewed, but it's perfect enough for me. That looks like a tulip to me. So now I'm going to go over, and that seam wants to go that way. Interesting. I'm going to press this and see. I think I have a pretty much of a 6.5 inch unfinished block, but I will go press this and we'll see. So here's my block right off of my ironing board. The edges are a little bit skewed, so hopefully I'll have a ta-da moment. Oh, good. I can trim that up. Yeah, because I have some raggedy edges here, so I'm just going to eyeball. There's 1/4 inch there, 1/4 inch there. Not quite 1/4 inch there. Oh, never mind. It's okay. I'll eyeball it to the best of my ability here, and just trim this up. And it really is sort of trimming up on all 4 sides. I'll do these 2 sides now. Do this one here, there. At least it's big, and I can cut it down. And there. Oh, wow. Yeah. Very pretty. There, folks, here's my little tulip block. That was a real ta-da moment. I really liked that. Again, simple 9 patch when we put it together, but with a little bit of interest. I quite like the fact that I had a pink tulip with the leaves there. I think that's real pretty. But the most important part, as I will mention, is the cutting instructions to make our little tulip block. So, I hope you enjoyed this, folks. And yeah, make my little flower in our sampler quilt block. All right. Love from the Trueloves. Bye.